Is leaving for the association the right move for Young?
No, I don't think it is. And I'm not speaking to anyone's financial situation or anyone giving up millions of dollars, guaranteed dollars. I understand that you sometimes have to take that deal, although I would say if you could take out an insurance policy that would pay the equivalent of your rookie contract, which you should be able to do, then, and by the way, you should somehow be able to finance that, right? I mean, if you can't make money as a college player, et cetera, then I would say absolutely stay in school. I don't think he's ready for the pros. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, the culture of the NBA is such that a high draft pick must start his career in the NBA. I don't know why that is. In baseball, you could be the #1 overall draft pick, and frequently you begin your career in the minor leagues, not the major leagues, where you get to develop. And were that the case, were the culture of the NBA the case, that Trae Young could be drafted up high and still go to the G League and develop there and over a year or two and then go to the NBA, I would be for it. But that's not what's going to happen. He's going to be thrown to the wolves. Ask another Oklahoma product, Buddy Hield, how that goes. And Buddy Hield actually had years in college. Trae Young is good and promising, and I believe he would get better with development in college against players more on his own level. A couple of more years. I mean, we've just seen it in this previous draft. Why was Kyle Kuzma so good? You think Kyle Kuzma would have been good if he came out after his freshman year? Not only would the answer have been no, he may have never developed into this player. So I'm not talking about the idea of just passing up financial opportunity. I get it. If there's a way to somehow hedge your bet through an insurance policy or something, and there is, then I would suggest staying in college and developing. Because if you think it's tough to play in the backcourt in college, there's a lot of defensive focus in college. Do you know what it's going to be like in the NBA, in a guard-driven league, where that's where the defensive attention goes? It's going to be brutal, and I'm afraid that he won't be able to develop into the player that he should become one day, and I think that could be a very good player.
Max, sit back and listen to what I'm about to break down, because this is about to get very, very interesting. I have been on the record, Max, as you well know, talking about how I'm not really sold on Trae Young. I think this kid Sexton out of Alabama could do some things. I love Gary Trent Jr. out of Duke. I think he could do some things along with a couple of other cats. But I can't ignore 27-8. I can't ignore you leading the nation in scoring and assist. And more importantly than that, when Trae Young dropped 48 points on Oklahoma State, but took 39 shots to do it, as annoyed as I was at his selfishness, I was equally impressed by how he modified his game and became more of a better point guard, getting his teammates involved and all of that other stuff. So what I did over the last week or so, I went back and I watched several tapes of Trae Young's games. And I got to tell you something right now. He's taller than I thought he was because he looks so small out on the court. They say he's a legit 6'2". He's taller than I thought he was on the court. I'm looking at his broad shoulders. I've watched him get in the lane and finish shots at the basket. And I love what I'm seeing in terms of his ball handling skills. And the brother can pass too. And so now I'm saying, all right, what do you do here? Ayton, Bagley and these boys, that's a given. But as it pertains to guards, can I pass on this guy? And you know who I think about when I think about what will happen if you're passing him? I think about Steph Curry. And you know why I think about Steph Curry? It's not just because I see Trae Young pulling up from three, even though against Rhode Island, even though he dropped 28, there was still a couple of ill-advised shots he took right past half court. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. But the bottom line is this. He has range. He can make shots. He can get to the lane and do his thing. But you know why I'm thinking about him? For the New York Knicks. Are you ready for this, Max? If you're the New York Knicks, hire Mark Jackson, like I said. The season ends April 11th. April 12th, Hornacek should be gone. By the end of tax season, April 15th, when your taxes are due, Mark Jackson should be the next head coach for the New York Knicks. And I felt that way before even thinking about Trae Young. But now that I'm thinking about Trae Young, it's even more important that the New York Knicks get Mark Jackson. Because when Steph Curry finally bursted onto the scene, who was his coach? This is before they won a title now. This is when they lost in the first round. They went to the semis one year in 2012, 2013, and 2013, 2014, I believe. They lost in the first round in Game 7 to the Clippers. I was at that game, all right? Steph Curry averaged 24 that season on 40, better than 47% shooting, better than 42% shooting from three-point range. It was his coming out season where he put the world on notice. He had arrived. And that was obviously the season before Steve Kerr got the job. Well, who was his coach? Who was the guy that spent 3 years developing Steph Curry before Steve Kerr came on the scene? That would happen to be Mark Jackson. And so I look at Trae Young, and I think about something along those lines. You're the Knicks, you hire Mark Jackson, and then after that, you draft Trae Young, and you go from there.